This is 4.1, solving rational equations. So, if you're absent, I suggest that you pause this video and go through the starter here. It's going to remind you of your excluded values and multiplying with rationals, and then also do this page right here. So we're going to start here, but then do it. All right, so pause, go back and do that other page. All right, so sweet. So what does it mean to solve an equation? So if you look at A right here, solving the equation is figuring out what x is, right? So figuring out the problem, solving it. So finding a solution. So meaning what value can go here for x? So it gets multiplied by 4, you subtract 7, and you get 5. All right, so some people might be able to figure that out in their head. 4 times 3 gives me 12. 12 minus 7 gives me 5, right? So the solution is x equals 3. The value for x equals needs to be 3. Sometimes you can't just see that, though, right? So you learned in past grades that you can undo the math happening. So instead of thinking 4 times what minus 7, you undo the process. But if you remember, you have to do order of operations, right? So you couldn't divide by 4 first, you had to add 7, right? Okay, so we divide by 4, we still get 3. But there was an order to how you learned how to do that. So as you go through these examples here, as you go through these solving examples, think about the order that has to happen to undo the math. So pause this video, try the other A's there, or try the B's, whatever you do, but think about the order that has to happen. All right, so you couldn't really use the same method because of that order that I was talking about. So think about the techniques that you had to use to do order of operations to undo the math happening, okay? So a rational equation is going to be one like this down here at the bottom. So rational is when you have a variable, the unknown is in the denominator, okay? So think about how you solve that last one. And let's do a few examples. So here, so 21 gets divided by something, but that something needs to be added to 1, right? And then it equals 3. So if you kind of think of the order, right? You're not just dividing 21 by something, but something's added to 1. So we've got to be careful of that order that these math steps are happening to produce 3. Okay? And so like I've been saying, this order is so super important. So to undo the math, first, you can't just subtract 1, right? First, you have to undo the division. 21's being divided by something. You have to undo the division. That's going to be multiplication. Okay, so those will cancel out, and you'll get 21 equals 3 times x plus 1. All right, so first off, let's go back. 21 divided by 7 gives us 3. So I can look at it and say, okay, x needs to be 6, right? But all right, but the order that this happens, so we multiply both sides by x plus 1, okay, to undo the math. And then I'm going to distribute in the 3. I don't know why I wrote it 2. So 3 times x, 3 times 1. Okay, I'm going to minus 3. That's going to give me 18. And then I'm going to divide by 3 to undo that step. Okay? All right, so there's a couple things that need to happen when you're solving rationals. But as you can see, really, it's just undoing the math. And you already know what undoes multiplication, what undoes division, what undoes, right? So hopefully this is kind of second nature to you. You're just kind of undoing the math. So don't let it scare you when you see these big fractions. We're just undoing the math, right? And I'll show you a few techniques. But I also want to remind you, we're not only undoing the math, but remember, x plus 1 cannot become 0. So we always need to pay attention to the excluded values and make sure that they are not matching up. Okay, x could not be -1 or it would have been undefined. So if we would have got -1 here, our true answer would be undefined. There's no solution there. But because x is 6, it's okay, right? 21 can divide by 7. It works, right? And it gives us 3. But we just got to be careful. You can either plug back in your answer and check it, or you can do what we just did there by finding your excluded value and going for it. Okay, let's look at another example. So like I said, don't let the lots of x's and lots of fractions scare you. You'll be fine. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get all my x's together. Okay, so I'm going to add 2x over x minus 4, add 2x over x minus 4. Okay, so I added it there and I'm left with 1, and then I have 6 over x minus 4 plus 2x over x minus 4. Now, last unit we learned how to add and subtract rationals. So when you have the same denominator, the denominator stays the same, and you just add the numerator. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo, this is kind of ugly, so I'm going to undo the division. I'm going to multiply by x minus 4. And then 1 times x minus 4 is just x minus 4 equals 6 plus 2x. Now I'm going to move this x over. Two x minus x is x, and then I'm going to move this 6 over, and x equals negative 10. Now we could check it. It wouldn't be too bad. We just plug everything back in, put it in our calculator. But that's basically it. Okay, and I check my excluded values, x minus 4, so we know that x cannot be 4 because 4 minus 4 is 0. But negative 10 works. It's totally fine. Okay, so just undoing the math. That's all that we're doing here. Okay, let's look at a few more examples. Okay, so what I'm going to do is subtract 4 over x plus 4. I'm going to try to get my x's together on one side. So I have negative 2 equals negative x over x plus 4 minus 4 over x plus 4. Because we have the same denominator, we can combine these. We'll get negative x minus 4. And now I'm going to get rid of the denominator, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 4. That undoes the division, right? So boom, boom, and I have negative 2x minus 8, distribute that through, equals negative x minus 4. And then I'll add 2x to both sides, and add 4 to both sides. So I get negative 4 equals x. Now, I'm going to check it. My excluded values was actually negative 4, right? So this one's actually undefined. Ooh, we get some crazy technology stuff going on here. Number 3 was undefined. So we solved it. We got negative 4, but negative 4 is the only thing that wouldn't work, right? As we can see there, it's just not going to work. So because the excluded value and our solution match up, this one's actually undefined, no solution. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 more examples, but I want to show you these steps here. So hopefully you're seeing some patterns as we go along. But really, so math is figure outable. So you can, like, you're just undoing the math. Like, you can figure it out without these steps. But if you're a person that likes steps, you're going to multiply each side by the least common denominator. So this is just to remind you, okay, find your least common denominator, multiply by that, and then solve, and then check to see if your solutions work. So I didn't really check to see if they worked. I just checked them to the excluded value. You could check to see if they work by plugging in a value. But let me show you. Let's go back and do one we already did. This one over here. 1 minus 2x over x minus 4 equals 6 over x minus 4. So following those steps, instead of what I did by moving it over and then combining, there's one other way you can do this. You can multiply, well, first identify the least common denominator. And I know that they both have that common denominator of x minus 4. Okay, so if I multiply every single term by x minus 4, it cancels out there, and then multiplies here. So I have 1 times x minus 4 minus 2x equals 6. So by multiplying the least common denominator to everything, I don't even have to worry about the denominators. Okay, so then I combine. I'm going to have x and negative 2x, so I'll get negative x minus 4 equals 6. And then I'm going to add 4, so negative x equals 10. And then I'm going to divide by negative 1, and I'm going to get x equals negative 10. Alright, so 2 ways to do it. I like the other way that I showed first, so you can kind of decide which one you want to do. But I'm going to show these instruction ways here, right now. So on number 4, I'm going to look for the least common denominator, which is x minus 7. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to multiply everything by x minus 7. So 9 has a denominator of 1, but that's not really, like, if you multiply everything by 1, that's not going to, it's not an issue, right? So if I multiply everything by x minus 7, those cancel out because they're held together by multiplication. Those cancel out because they're held together by multiplication. So I'm going to get 7x, and then I can distribute the negative 9 in. So I have negative 9x, negative times negative is positive 63. Okay, so now combine like terms. Negative 9x plus x is negative 8x plus 63 equals 7. I'm going to minus 63 minus 63. Negative 8x equals 7 minus 63. That's going to give me negative 56, right? Yep. Okay, then I'll divide by negative 8. Negative 8. And x equals, does 8 go into 56? Yeah, it does. It goes in, that is, why am I having this? It's 7 times 8, yes. 7, alright. Woohoo. But, this is an issue, right? The denominator cannot become 0. And if you plug in a 7 there, 7 minus 7 equals 0. So x cannot be 7. So, undefined. No solution here. Alright, one more. Let's take a look at it. So, now, the least common denominator is a little bit different. Okay? So, 2x, x, 6. They all need an x, right? X, x, x. And then they all need at least a 6. Okay? So this one has a 2, this one has a 1, so 6 is the biggest. So we talked about least common denominators a little bit last unit, but we noticed that 6, 2 multiplies to create 6, 1 multiplies to create 6, 6 multiplies to create 6. So 6x is the least common denominator. So I'm going to go through and multiply everything by 6x. Alright, so that cancels out, and I'm left with 5x. The x cancels out, and I'm left with negative 6 because of this negative right here. And then the x cancels out, and then 6 and 2, 6 is 2 times 3, so the 2 cancels out. And then 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so we have 15 minus 6. That was my least common denominator. 15 minus 6 is 9. Okay, I divide by 5. So x equals 9/5. Alright, so let's take a look. So 2 times what creates 0? X cannot be 0. X cannot be 0. So this is okay. This is our solution. So multiply each side by the least common denominator to clear the denominators. Solve. Check to see that your solutions work by checking the excluded values, and circle your final answer, and you're done. So, a few more examples if you want to stick around. So, LCD will be 5x. So I'm going to multiply 5x through. Okay, that cancels out completely. That leaves us with 2x, and that leaves us with 15. So I'm going to minus 3, 2x equals 12, divide by 2, x equals 6. It's not the least common, or sorry, it's not the excluded value because the excluded value is 0, so this is good. We're good to go. Okay, Alright, this one over here. So, because these guys have an x minus 1, we know we're going to have to multiply everything by x minus 1. And then these other guys have x plus 2's, so we're going to have to multiply that through. So that is our least common denominator. Alright, so see you later. I'll have 4 times x plus 2. That's gone. And then boom, 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 boom. Those are all gone. We're left with 42. So I have 4x plus 8 plus x minus 1 equals 42. And we get 5x plus 7 equals 42 minus 7. Oh, that's a 2, not a 7. So 5x equals 35. Divide by 5. X equals 7. Now check your excluded values. X cannot be 1 or negative 2, which is not a problem. So 7 is our solution. So what did we learn today? We learned how to solve rationals. Okay, so figure out what value, right? What value could I put in for x? So 4 divided by x minus 1 plus 1 over x plus 2 equals 42 divided by x minus 1, x plus 2. And we found out that it was 7. So 4 over 7 minus 1 plus 1 over 7 plus 2 equals 42 over 7 minus 1. 7 plus 2 times 7 plus 2. Right, so that's what we did. That was our goal. Solve rationals so we could figure out what value needs to go in there. We talked about 2 ways to do it. You can just simply look at the problem and undo the math. So use all the skills that you've learned before of undoing the mathematics happening, or you can follow this step-by-step process, whatever you like best, but then do not forget to check your excluded values so you know which ones are undefined. All right, you can do this. Good luck on your homework.